And I guess we'll start, all right? We'll start off with the decisions. The first decision we have is 2835 24 Pulaski Street, LLC.
I move we accept this decision as proposed.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And can we have a motion to adjourn case number 2859,
So moved.
Vandermeer Place, LLC?
So
Second.
moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Brings us down to number 2 under the pending cases, 2759 Wickapog Pond Rehab Project.
This is one that we had heard previously, and we're really just waiting for a plan that met our requirements. That has been received. It was reviewed once, minor revisions were made, and it's complete at this time from our perspective. It only involves a restoration of an invasive plant area with native plantings, but we have a satisfactory plan. If the board would like to move on that, you should have a decision in your package that includes a wetland special conditions, negative declaration, and a Part 2 EAF.
57,
Hmm?
right? 2757, right?
2757.
You can make a motion to adopt the negative declaration and wetland special permit prepared by our environmental consultant.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
2847 140 on Meadow Lane. We have that one also, Chick?
They'll be here in a couple minutes.
All right.
First of all.
We'll hold off on that one until I get here. 2848 Dareen LLC, 120 Meadow Lane.
That's, those two are.
Those two go together, right?
Go together, yeah.
All right. 2860 SH Meadow Lane LLC, 715 Meadow Lane. I think we have a decision on that one too, don't we, Chick?
We do, and again, I don't think this was closed, but we heard it at the last meeting. I had no questions at that time. This is a house that's currently under construction, and there's some minor changes that are proposed having to do with replacement in kind of a bulkhead and decking material around an existing bulkhead that's a boat slip. So, given that there were no comments or requests for information at the last meeting, I did prepare permit conditions, a negative declaration, and a Part 2 EAF if the board wants to go ahead
We'll
with it.
have to close this one first, won't we, Rick?
Yes.
Before we close it, is there anyone out in the audience who would like to be heard to this application? 2860. Therefore, can I have a motion to close this?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we need a motion on the decision.
Okay, it would be the same, a motion to adopt the negative declaration and wetland special permit prepared by our environmental consultant.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's see, which one was that?
2860 SH Meadow Lane.
Does someone have an extra copy for the applicant?
I think so, yeah. I don't have-
Probably have lots of extra copies.
I got them, but they're buried.
This is
You got one? Number 17 Meadow Lane?
2860?
Recession.
2860, yeah.
715?
Thank you.
Case number 2861, Ophir Kadar, 111 Hetty Creek Lane.
Good evening, Melissa Dedovich, on behalf of Mr. Kadar from Peconic Environmental Associates, 21 South Main Street. The last time I was here, we were asked to prepare a little more information and submit it to the board, which we did. One of the things we did provide is an updated survey that now shows the location of the proposed catwalk, as well as the existing buffer that was established as part of the construction of the original house. We also provide a copy of the hydrographic survey that was also used for the development of our Peconic environmental design for the catwalk. We were also requested to provide a construction methodology, which was provided. And in closing, we were asked to inquire with Mr. Foster whether or not a catwalk or a dock would have to be held to the same setbacks as an accessory side yard, as accessory structure with regard to side yard. I did meet with Mr. Foster, and he said, no, actually catwalks and docks are exempt from accessory side yard. The only time he does try to keep accessory side yard with regard to a walkway is with the beach walkway. So this is exempt. The only other thing I'd like to add is that, let me take a copy. A copy of this was sent to Mr. Voorhees, and we just received, and I'll only give up 2 copies. We just received a town trustee's permit for this proposed catwalk also.
Is there anything else that we may need?
The only thing that we're waiting for besides your permit would be the DEC permit.
Do we have any questions from the board? Rick, do you have any questions?
No?
Chick?
I believe that answers everything. Melissa went down through each one. We had asked for the survey, input from the building department, and a construction methodology. And in addition to that, the trustee's permit has been supplied. So our jurisdiction is fairly limited. It's really just the access through the buffer to get to the fixed pier. And I have no further questions.
Is there anyone out in the audience who'd like to be heard of this application? You want to hold it for decision, or what?
Yes, Chick will have to write up the permit conditions.
Move we hold this for decision.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
The application of case number 2862, William and Sharon Jacob, 52 Bishop's Lane.
Good evening. For the applicants, Robert Conley of Farrell Fritz, 50 Station Road, Watermill. At the conclusion of last month's public hearing, Mr. Petras asked for some additional information to be submitted, which I did provide to the board prior to the work session on March 17th. Included in that submission were the existing and proposed floor plans of the new accessory structure. Yes. And as you can see, although the habitable space will increase, the number of bedrooms will decrease from 1 to 2 in the new apartment building. Also submitted was a portion of the minor subdivision map for Eleanor Voorhees. The subject property is designated as parcel B on that map. And as you can see, the 2-story garage apartment existed at the time the map was created. And prior to receiving approval from the planning board on March 25th, 1985, this board granted area variances on January 25th, 1979, which allowed all structures, including the garage and apartment building, to remain in their existing locations. Submitted with the application to the zoning board in 1979 was an affidavit of Lucille Smith. Ms. Smith stated, among other things, that the second floor apartment existed since prior to 1920 for residential purposes. She also noted that there was a separate single-story apartment attached at the eastern part of the structure, and as a part of the condition of this board approving that ZBA application, it was required to be removed. And as you can see from the certificate of occupancy that was provided, as well as the existing floor plans of the structure, the area which was once the single-story apartment has been used for storage purposes only. Also discussed at last month's public hearing was the 2006 ZBA decision, which granted variances to allow for the garage apartment building to be removed and replaced with a new 2-story building. The building contemplated by this application is admittedly larger than the one proposed in the 2006 application. However, the 2006 decision also granted the applicants the right to expand the main house, which is something they're no longer interested in pursuing. And I just want to note, too, that the building that's now being proposed is 20 feet farther away from the street than the one in 2006. And I've also provided the survey from the 2006 application with the supplemental materials. And lastly, as you may recall, there was a neighbor from 39 Corrigan Street who appeared and raised some concerns. Since last month's meeting, my client and she have spoken, and all issues have been addressed, and everyone's happy.
He was concerned about the noise coming from the basketball court, right?
Right.
So
So,
those people belong to the owner's family, or were they tenants? There was some discussion about that.
it was the children of the owners.
They've been exiled?
Yeah. They're banished.
They'll still be there, right? I mean, they're still gonna be there.
Yeah.
I assume they still want to have the basketball court.
Right. But
keep
just
it
try
down.
to be more mindful of.
Okay. Do we have anything else on the board? Rick?
No questions. They did submit all the information we asked for. We're still going to have to deliberate on whether there's enough benefit to justify the greater than 50% increase in floor area for the guest cottage, but that's something we'll have to deliberate on, so we can close it for decision.
There's no garage anymore then, right?
No.
Do we have anyone out in the audience like to heard of this application? 52 Bishop's Lane. No. So we're going to close this for decision.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, 2847 is what you're at.
Okay.
Might as well do Wamble before you take them, because we
Okay.
have a check has a decision for that.
Wamble, that's the
Old Lambo, 2863.
2863. We got it. On the application of case number 2863, Robin Wamble, 76 Great Plains Road. Did you
Linda
have anything
Riley,
to add?
I don't have anything to add unless you have questions. I think I submitted everything you asked for at the last hearing, before the work session.
I think we have a decision.
Okay, that's great.
Are you sure?
Doesn't get any better.
Yeah, can't do much better than that. This is the replacement of a sanitary system. We had challenged their engineer to see if they could set it back a little bit more. We did receive correspondence that this is really about the only configuration that works, but the system is roughly in the same location as an existing system. I also had an opportunity to inspect the site, and it is really just a small man-made pond, and most of the conditions are impaired or impacted around it, but it's a pre-existing condition. So the applicant did have a very complete submission with a wetlands report and other supporting documentation, and there were no further questions that are unanswered since the last meeting. So I did prepare this for a decision. If the board would like to move on it, there's a special conditions, negative declaration, and a Part 2 environmental assessment.
Is there anyone out in the audience like to heard of this application? Therefore,
You first need to close the hearing.
I have a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
It's closed.
And then it would be a motion to adopt the negative declaration and wetlands special permit prepared by our environmental consultant.
I move we adopt and accept the decision as proposed.
Well, second?
All in favor?
Aye.
You have an extra copy, Dan? Unless you want it.
Now we'll go back to 2847, 140 Meadow Lane LLC. I don't know if that's here or not.
Or do you, or which one?
Wemble, 76 Great Plains.
What page number?
You have that
That
one
one.
covered?
I'm looking at it, I don't see it.
860.
2848,
This, do you want, you need a copy?
848,
I can give her my
2849.
file copy.
2859.
You have an extra copy.
Yeah,
here.
2859. This is my copy, but I don't care.
Yeah, that's, I'm sorry, wrong one.
47 and 48.
2847 and 2848.
47,
Here they are here. Here's one of them. Where's the other one? They're both here. Now, this is for 140 or for 120? Which one?
They are combined.
They're combined, okay.
Yeah, the
Okay.
clerical division had asked me to submit it as two separate applications, but they are one, is one project. Brant Reiner from InterScience Research Associates on behalf of the applicants, 140 Meadow Lane LLC and Doreen LLC. I'm here with Steve Lemansky, the engineer for the project, and Eric Brown, the applicant's legal representation. One quick note, just so that you're looking at the most recent plans. We submitted updated plans this afternoon. So if you do have plans in front of you, just make sure you're looking at the March 24th, 2015 plans. These two properties.
Just hold on a second. In the future, if you're going to submit plans on the day of the hearing, it would be better if you submitted them to us tonight rather than ahead of time, so we don't get them. Perhaps they're in the folder.
I confirm that they be put in the folders.
I didn't get one.
Okay.
I didn't get one.
I didn't get one either.
Well, I have a copy here that we can all look at. So Steve will be able to walk you through that. I apologize for that oversight. The properties combined have a total of 560 linear feet of shoreline. It's these two properties right here. They have a bulkhead and shore hardening structures that extend around the shoreline such as that. The history of the application is such that we had submitted in November of 2014. The original plans that were in the file at that time should be discarded. There were some inaccuracies and some updates that we have made since then. We've taken the last 4 months to address comments that we received from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and the South Hinton Town trustees. In short, the bulkhead is the two layers of steel sheeting bulkhead is now proposed to be removed, whereas before we were proposing to simply put the new layer in front of the bulkhead. Again, Steve can talk about the design elements in just a minute. I spoke with John Foster. We had several conversations with John Foster about this project. As recently as this afternoon, we looked at the plans again, and he indicated that he has no objections to the project, that he will be speaking with the DEC on Monday about another project, but he'd like to introduce them to this project as well. And it has to do with the extension of the bulkhead to go behind a rock revetment that exists on the west side of the property. Again, Steve Lemansky can talk to you about the engineering details such as that are associated with that. What I just would like you all to understand is the project is intended to simply replace what exists today. The elevations will remain the same, and the materials will actually remain the same. It's a steel sheeting bulkhead, and we're not looking to do anything beyond the scope of what exists today. So at this time, I'll let Steve talk to you about the design aspects, and if you have any questions, we can address them as they come up.
Steve Lemansky, Southampton Engineering Services. We had submitted an earlier version of this, which we combined from a couple of different surveys. One survey was showing on this property that there was a steel bulkhead here when in fact it was a proposed steel bulkhead which never had been built. So we went to John Foster, and we had some conflicting information. Went to John Foster and said, can we dig a few holes just to verify what we have? He said, great. So we went and we uncovered in this area, this rock revetment, and right up by the property line of rock revetment that Chuck Gios from Rambo, who installed it, confirmed that this rock revetment runs from here all the way across the property and all the way to the Cooper's Beach parking lot. So there's a rock revetment, and there's details on the drawings that show exactly what that rock revetment is. We also uncovered in this spot, and this spot, all on the 140 property, the front steel bulkhead, a middle steel bulkhead, and then a 2-foot thick concrete seawall that we're really not sure how deep it went. We really didn't want to uncover too much of it at this point without going forward with permits. So we've put all those details back on the plan. So you'll see there's the sheet 1 of your drawings will show these existing conditions and existing details. Sheet 2 is going to show proposed, and sheet 1 is the proposed plan. Sheet 2 is the existing details. 3 is the proposed plan, and 4 is the proposed details. So it's, what you have and what we're going to do. And basically, we're going to remove the front bulkhead, remove the secondary bulkhead, and then put our new bulkhead in place of the second bulkhead. So we're actually moving the bulkhead further back off the beach. We're moving the bulkhead landward. Details are the same. It's steel sheet piling.
Does that show the new bulkhead on the plan there, or is that what
No,
that
this is existing.
Okay.
The new will show it in the same spot. Yeah, there. Okay, so the new shows it coming, and we've taken and returned it behind this existing rock revetment that's there. So we're making a continuous tie-in to the existing bulkhead.
How far back did it recede from what's there now? The new bulkhead? You said it's further landward. How much further?
Oh, it's right up tight against it. It's about maybe a foot behind it. And then directly behind that is this 2-foot thick seawall. So we can pull out the 2 layers of bulkhead and then put one back further off the beach.
But that's it, only a foot or 2 further off the
Just-
beach?
yeah.
Yeah, okay, because of
Right.
the rock, because of the
Right.
wall.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we couldn't, and if we go behind it, then we'd have to remove the concrete wall. We have no idea how far that goes. But I think that's the existing bulkhead for the twin houses, which were 140 and 120. I think that was there back in the old day. That was their existing seawall.
So that's going to stay.
That's going to stay, and then a steel sheet bulkhead will be put directly in front of that.
How about the rocks? That's going to stay too?
And those
the rock
rocks are going to stay
revetment?
as well. This is on the Sugarman property, and then a bit of it comes this way, and then it turns and comes down on an angle where the existing sheet piling go like this. We're going to take it and just bring it more landward, and then tuck it behind it.
How
Behind the
old,
rocks.
how old is the metal wall that's there now? Do you have any idea?
No, the second one is totally deteriorated. The front one is on its way out.
Yeah, I'm just trying
So
to
I'm
get
not
an idea
I'm not
how
sure.
long these
I don't
last.
know the timing of, Yeah.
So this is like the third one.
right.
So what is the life expectancy of these bulkheads? Like the new one, is it?
Well, the
is
new
it- is
the
it
new
a
ones
better steel?
the new
Do
ones
they
have a coating on them that they rust a little bit and then they firm up and they don't allow additional deterioration like they make parking garages out of it now. So
So
it's a
the
much
old
better
bulkheads with
product.
the old technology, the new bulkhead will be the new.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Thanks. And if you want to have one of these for the record.
For the file.
So I understand that this is the first time you're seeing these plans. We completely understand if you need time to digest them. Of course, Chick might need some time to look them over as well. But again, the idea is that we have existing steel sheathing bulkhead there to protect these properties that have some, serious exposure due to the way that they were developed, so many years ago. And the idea is to provide the same protection that's always been in place with the addition of the bulkhead that comes behind the rock revetment. Right here, this is essentially the only new section of bulkhead that's being provided into the project. And it's just wrapping behind the rock revetment to add some more support for wave energy that comes from the west.
How long a project is it?
Well, originally the project was designed so that it would be a fairly simple installation by putting the new steel sheathing in front of the existing bulkhead. But because the DEC and trustees had some concern with the third layer, we now have to remove the existing steel sheathing, which from the contractor's perspective is going to be a little bit of a difficult project.
So, 3-month project?
Any idea?
I think if all goes well, they can pull it out in 6 weeks. It depends on how much trouble they have vibrating them out of the ground. It could be 8 to 10 weeks, but I don't think it's going to be more than 10 weeks.
But, the project would be a fall project?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. And after September and probably into like mid-October, because we want to basically not do it during hurricane season.
And the equipment and everything you're gonna bring down from the beach, but that's not really gonna block beach traffic.
No.
Fishing season, a
No.
lot of people.
Now, we'll be right up against it.
Do we have anything else from the board? Rick?
Not a real question about what they're doing, just a question about procedure. Where's the DEC on this? And are they treating this as a type 2 action under their regs?
The DEC has issued a letter acknowledging that they received the application and had some initial comments. And it's those comments that have sent us on the mission to try to figure a lot of these things out. The board is actually the first to see these new plans. The DEC has not yet seen them because they are hot off the press. They were just completed on March 24th. So we do plan on submitting these back to the DEC, but we're confident that we've addressed a majority of their concerns. I do not know how they have proceeded with SECRA. I would assume that this is a type 2 action. Maybe Chick can offer comments on that as well, but they did not.
Well, it really depends on how the DEC is going to treat it from their end, whether we have to coordinate or whether we can just do our own. So,
Well, we can.
I don't expect this as a type 1 action, so coordinated review would be optional. But we can certainly
If you
reach out to the DEC in
okay,
the
well,
meantime.
the complication is that unless it's type 2 under the DEC, their own secret classification. Anything, if I remember right, anything that requires a coastal erosion management permit, almost anything is type 1 for us. For example, the one we just did for the Dune Church.
Mhm.
The DEC had their own. I'm not talking about the type 2 list that's in the DEC regs for everybody. I'm talking about in their own treatment of it. The applicant on the Dune Church property provided us with something indicating that the DEC was considering it as type 2 for the purposes of their application. If it's type 2 for them, then we can do our own thing, regardless of what it is.
I can check with the DEC and get that information to you.
Right, so we'll have to keep that in mind.
I'll submit that as soon as I can get that from them.
Check.
Fran, are there any, is this an area of nesting of piping plovers, do you know?
Not that I'm aware of. According to the trustee maps that I've seen, I think the most recent one was maybe 2011, 2012. I did not see a indicator that they're in the immediate area. I believe there's something down the beach a little bit further, but I don't know if it's within 1,000 feet or not. I could double check you that and get that map.
I want to check it, touch base with Chip Hamilton up at DEC.
Yep.
And if so, we'll probably have a seasonal restriction, but it sounds like that's after April 31st. And any time up until April 1st, I'm sorry, August 31st.
August
to April
31st, right, right.
April 1st. With the Dune Church, we did look for a fairly detailed written and graphic construction management plan. So I think, some of Dan's questions were leading towards that, but, recognizing the sensitivity of the beach and areas for staging and storing and things like that, I think that would be worthwhile for this project as well.
The Dune Church, they buried the bulkhead, correct? You never saw it
Correct, but they had to expose it
to do it.
To
So
do
is
it,
But
and
is
then-
this one on completion? Is it buried or is it exposed?
It is quite possible that they will want to rebury the bulkhead. A section of this bulkhead is currently buried. It has sand that has been dumped over top of it.
Can you give us
but-
like a side view cut of what that's gonna look like
The
when you're done?
Sheet number 4,
I don't have those.
Okay.
Oh, I'm
Why
sorry.
don't you go through those, because I actually had some questions on that. Because it looks like the dead men are
Let's-
behind the existing seawall, so you're gonna cut through that in places?
We're gonna drill through it.
Okay.
These are the cross sections, and I can let Steve walk you through these really quickly if you'd like to step up. This is the proposed cross section.
This first one is the existing rock groin, which is going to remain.
So Steve, on these, south is to the left, and north is to the right? Because usually when you have a,
You're looking west.
right.
You're looking west on all these.
But the cut, in other words, the lower elevation area is toward the ocean?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Usually I see A prime or something that indicates which way the section goes.
It should be on the third sheet. The sheet
Right.
before it has the section cuts.
But it's, A is the same in both locations. In other
A is the
words-
same in both locations, and the arrows are pointing west, and B, that's kind of pointing northwest, but they're all pretty much taken. So as you look at them, the ocean's on your left-hand side.
And this is showing it to be recovered, it looks like, right?
Yeah, here's where the sheet piling is, where we're bringing it behind the wall, and we're building the dune up completely. So it'll be completely buried in all cases. We're adding sand to the front of it to,
So you're bringing sand down,
we're bringing in sand to reclaim more beach.
so this could be quite a bit of sand. You're accessing, so where are they accessing from?
Okay, yeah, we'll calculate the sand.
But where are you accessing from? What road?
We talked to John Foster about the Cooper's Beach parking lot. And that's how
But-
we brought it on.
But
That's how we
then
brought
how do you
it
get it from there to the?
down the beach.
I mean, you go, yeah, but what access road do you use? If you're gonna be transporting sand, you're gonna bring it to the parking lot and then put it in a dump truck or some type
And
of.
drive it down the beach.
Yeah, but, so where are you accessing the beach? What, with the trucks?
Aren't there some,
Equipment, how's
pretty good
equipment
sized
getting on,
dunes
backing
and-
off?
Oh, yeah, no, we can't access from.
No, you
from
can't
here.
ask for the property. It would be from one of the access roads
Right
down
on
the
the other-
beach. If Cooper's Beach is not an accessible location for the equipment, it would be the next.
The next one down, which would
is
be
Halsey.
Halsey
Okay,
Neck.
Which
so
is
it's
only
quite a
few
haul.
properties down.
Yeah, but right next to this property is the Cooper's Beach parking lot.
Yeah, I don't think you can drive up and over and down there, so
There's
you.
no access road from
Right,
Cooper's
so you'd
Beach.
you'd have to go the next one down, which would be what, the end of
Halsey Neck.
Halsey Neck. So that's a long drive down the beach. I don't know if they, you want to keep them all on one track. How do you want to?
Yeah, I know on Dune Church, there was a haul road depicted, and, they were coming from, the bathing corp in that location.
And they were a lot
So I think you
closer.
should show the access point
Okay.
and basically how you conduct that access. And then, Brant,
The other question is, if they're going to do this in October, even September, October, you still get a lot of people that use that beach area, so I'm a little concerned with the.
prime fishing
Well,
season.
you can
Quite
steel,
honestly-
sand,
Quite honestly, I think the contractor would rather do it when it's not hurricane season, so you'd probably be after October 31st. We could make this a winter project. It's just a matter of juggling between hurricanes and nor'easters, how long it's really gonna take the project to unfold.
Yeah, well, I guess the dates would be important, you know, if it was
And-
September 21st, there's still a lot of people that
And we'll
use.
put a specific calendar together that shows when we're going to start, how many days, when we're going to stop, so you know.
And access by this property isn't always, well, the beach driving privileges along this property aren't always accessible because there are 3 old jetties, groins that stick out from here. And right now, they're completely exposed. I mean, the
Yeah,
winter
but
was pretty
usually
rough
by
on
the
them.
end of the summer, they're covered again, so.
Right. You know, the winter really takes a toll on them. So, you know, we can talk to the contractor about, you know, maybe thinking of a couple months that would work, and, you know, work with Chick on all the things you're talking about with the construction management plan. It makes sense. You can look into all those things.
Then the cross-sections show at least conceptual plantings. Is there a planting plan that was?
There is not. Again, that I would say that the sand renourishment over top of the bulkhead and the plantings on top of the sand are conceptual at this time. And maybe if the board would like, we could do a separate application for a dune renourishment over the bulkhead. Because we have not really talked about the numbers that are associated with that dune replenishment.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be a good idea to establish plantings if you're gonna place the sand and cover it. It may as well be part of the same package.
Right. I would think it would be just, similar to what's there, which would be beach grass.
Yeah. Yeah. No, if you could include that, I think it'd be good to get that as part of this.
Okay, so we do it all at once, right?
And so you have sand source quantity also. Okay. No further questions?
Is there anyone in the audience wants to be heard of this application? I don't see any hands, so we're gonna hold this one open, right?
Move we hold this application open.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Right.
I think that takes us down to the new cases. Yeah, we did that one. That was approved. Case number 2864, Jean Nielsen, 50 James Street.
Good evening, everyone. For the applicant, Joe Salvi, 295 North Sea Road, Southampton, New York. I have the affidavit of mailing, posting, and proof.
Put that one over there, Jim.
64.
Number 50 James Street. Yes, sir. Thank you.
The subject property comprises 12,559 square feet. It's located in the R 12.5 zone. The lot abuts Post Lane to the south and James Street to the west, creating 2 front yards. The lot is extremely long and narrow, measuring 185 feet by only 67 feet in width. The 2 front yards, combined with the extremely narrowness of the lot, creates a practical difficulty when improving this lot, even with proposing a modest dwelling. The applicant has proposed a 2-story dwelling with a footprint of 1,388 square feet for a total living area of 2,770 square feet. The required front yard setback is 30 feet. The front setback from James Street is compliant, it's more than compliant. However, the problem is the side that abuts Post Lane. The proposal is a 14.8-foot setback off of Post Lane. The lot is screened very heavily on the Post Lane side with both hedge and with fencing. Additionally, there's a proposed swimming pool which requires a 40-foot setback from post and a 20-foot setback from the north property line. Again, the relief that we're requesting is necessary because of the positioning of Post Lane, the second street. Lastly, the applicant requests a variance for the garage from 40 feet to 30 feet, again from Post Lane for the same reasons. The application, I believe, or at least the posting indicated that there was some requested pyramid relief, which has been withdrawn. The project's been, I think, a little reconfigured by Mr. Vero, such as not to require any pyramid relief. So those are the only 3 reliefs that we're requesting. The property, as you can see from the survey, is in fact screened on the 3 sides where we're requesting relief, and it's heavily screened with both privet and hedge. The area around it is surrounded by other homes, 3,000 square feet, and certainly some quite a bit larger in this area, and most of which are improved with swimming pools and detached garages as we're proposing. We submit to you that there's really not much more we can do but come to this board for relief, that the relief is the minimum that we require. The proposed dwelling is of a modest size, and we've maximized the setbacks as much as possible. The variance relief mostly is from Post Lane, so there's minimum effect to any neighboring property owners, and it is a screened area. So for those reasons, we're here today. Nick Vero is the architect, and I think he wants to speak as well on the application.
Nicholas Vero, architect, 120 Mill Road, West Hampton Beach. Good evening. On behalf of the Nielsen's, but just to further what Mr. Salvi has said, there was an existing house on the property which actually measured 45 feet wide, which was, I believe, 10.5 feet from the Post Lane street side. That was the front yard setback there. And the house was also a little less than 30 feet off of James Street, the other front yard setback. If you look at the survey, you'll see how the old house was dashed in there, okay? Furthermore, there was an existing pool in the property that was a little dilapidated from, lack of use thereof over the years. That pool was, I believe, 25 feet from the Post Lane front yard setback. So our proposal is we're looking to push the pool further off of Post Lane to 35.6 feet. Furthermore, on the east side of the property was an existing frame shed, which was a small garage, which was basically on that east side property abutting the old Southampton Cemetery. If you look at the survey, you see where that was. So our proposed garage, which is modest in size, is basically going to be used for bicycle storage and eventually just with the lawn furniture that they'll put away at season's end. That garage, we're proposing to be 15 feet off of both the side yard, the north property line, and the rear yard, which is the old Southampton Cemetery lot. But again, 30 feet off of the Post Lane front yard setback. Again, I believe our house that we're proposing is modest in size. In fact, as luck would have it for me tonight, the house is 37.5 feet wide on James. It's actually 37 by 37 wide. And as luck would have it, this room is 37 feet wide. Okay, from that wall to that wall, if you count the tiles, just to give you a perspective of what this house is going to be. 2 stories in nature. Again, like I explained to you before, we've already gone to ARB. I've already addressed the issue of pyramid. We've reduced the pyramid. There is no pyramid requirement or request for relief.
I have a question. I agree that proximity to Post Lane is less of a consequence than to the neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
Why is the pool not moved towards Post Lane instead of violating the neighbor's setback? Shouldn't it be 20?
We can push the pool wherever, I thought it would be best to be off the front yard, again, because of accessory structure on a street. I thought it would be best. That pool, we can move wherever, the board may suggest.
That's my opinion.
It's not a problem with the client, it's not at all.
We've always had 20-foot setbacks off the side yards.
Okay.
And what was, how much pyramid relief were you requesting?
Originally, I had 2-foot overhangs. I've reduced the overhangs down to a foot, and I actually reduced the top plate, the second floor plate
You
height.
still
Now,
need
see,
relief.
No, I do not need pyramid.
Oh, okay.
Okay. In fact, if you'd like to look at the drawings that I have here, you'll see that I do not need pyramid. So that's, that request is, is off the table right now.
So the extra 5 feet would mean that from Post Lane it would be 30 feet instead of 35 feet.
I'm sorry, the question again?
The extra 5 feet.
Yes.
Off the neighbor.
Yes. Would be, right,
So it would be 30 feet from post lane.
30 feet on the, we're talking about swimming pool.
30
Yes.
I'm at the pool,
Yes,
sorry,
yeah.
yeah.
I have no problem with that. That's actually better, but I thought maybe you'd want it the other way around. I have no problem with that at all.
Well, the
That is
old
much
pool
better.
was even closer,
Yes.
and it was away from the neighbor, the legal
Right.
amount,
Okay.
required amount by zoning.
Where is the pool equipment, sir?
Pool equipment, we're gonna put in the shed. Pool equipment will be located in the
By
shed.
this proposed garage.
Yes, proposed garage. I call it the shed, yes, proposed garage.
Is this
And the
a,
pool is 32 by 16, well, that's
Correct.
just
Yeah,
not a
actually,
huge
and it's
pool.
smaller than the pool that existed.
Yeah.
It just needed to be
three
reconstructed.
bedroom house?
It's a 4-bedroom house,
So you need 3 parking places.
which I believe we probably have there.
Got the garage as one.
Right, okay, yeah, that and then the front, okay. Looks like plenty
There's a
of
driveway in front, right?
room. Yeah,
Yes.
Looks like at least
Got
2
two
there.
there.
Yeah, there's 2 there, and you got one in the garage.
I have a question. I noticed there's 2 curb breaks on a 67-foot wide lot.
We're getting rid of that. We're getting rid of the one that's coming like right onto the corner. If you look at the survey, you'll see that it's dotted in there. So that curb break is going away. The one on the corner, right on the corner of James Street.
So it will
close
no
by.
longer be a circular
Will
driveway?
no longer be a circular driveway, that's correct.
Okay, to be removed, it says.
Yes.
Okey-doke.
Do we have anything else on board? Rick?
Just a few things that would help us visualize this. Would you provide us with an existing condition survey so that we can see exactly what's there now? It's hard when you overlay a proposed one on an existing one. It's hard to visualize accurately what's there.
Okay.
Well, we have this, Rick. Don't you have that?
Yeah, but it's hard to see what's,
No, not
No,
that
not
one,
that one.
not that one, this one. This is the existing.
I don't have that.
I don't either.
Oh, it was in the package. It was just in the main file, if you want to look at it. Okay,
Just one of them?
I thought I did give them, so,
Well, apparently you only gave one.
sorry.
You only have the one that's in the main file, yeah.
One is better than none.
Well, it doesn't
Well,
help.
we prefer 8, but
I'm one up on you.
you want to look at this, Rick?
No, because when we get to a point where if we're gonna write a decision, I need it in front of me.
Right, I know.
Absolutely, okay.
So give us an existing condition survey.
Okay. They'll give you several existing conditions already.
That'd be good.
Okay.
And then I can see exactly, I can compare the existing and the proposed.
Okay.
We're gonna need a revised survey showing the revised
Pool, correct?
anyhow.
Right?
The only other thing, I was gonna be asking for pyramid law diagrams and stuff like that, but you've just
We solved that problem.
drawn that. I don't know if you want an elevation, post lane of the existing and the proposed, so you can compare that. I think it would be helpful. And somewhere, could you put on the plans the size of the existing house and the size of the proposed house?
Okay.
We can see on the survey what the footprint is.
If I'm not mistaken, the existing size is on that survey showing the existing condition. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I'm talking about floor area.
Okay, okay,
So if you would give us those things,
sure,
that would
okay,
make it easier to understand.
fine.
Do we have anything else? Anybody out in the audience like to heard of this application? Yes, sir.
Yeah, you know, Mr. Davini, you brought up a good point. You're reading my mind, so you kind of took all like the pressure off me or whatever about the pool.
That's what I do.
Yeah, I'm Merrick Dennis. I live at 40 James, right next to Bjorn's house. I'm next door. I'm north of his house and right next door. And we recently built a house right next door on 40 James. And, you know, we complied with everything and no variances and any of that stuff. But we have reviewed the proposal plans, and it is a beautiful house. It adds a lot to the neighborhood. It really is fantastic. I have no objections to the variances requested in 1 and 3. the pyramid or the detached garage, no problem at all. We do, however, have an issue with the requested for the swimming pool variance. Northern side setback, as you guys know, 20 to 15 feet. The plans show the pool 15 feet from our property and the patio all the way to the property line, pretty much close, maybe 3-4 feet away. In our experience, pools can be extremely noisy. They're really noisy. Our previous neighbors were wonderful people, and they had 35 grandkids, but that's all wonderful and fine, we were all kids once too, making noise and all that, but we just feel that the pool and patio it's so close, it's kind of not appropriate. And as one of you suggested, we have no objection to a variance for the pool on the south side of the pool, and would suggest that the pool, in fact, be moved further towards Post Lane to accommodate such a pool.
That's going to happen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to move it 5 feet. That was
The architect agreed
was
to
Rob's
that.
question.
Okay.
But what
good.
about the patio? Can we ask that the patio, the bulk of the patio go that way too?
Yeah, can I address that?
No, please.
What we'll do, and we'll put it on the revised survey, is we'll just do, we'll do 20-foot setback, and then we'll just have coping on that side, and we'll orient the patio area to the post lane
Sounds
side.
pretty
and we'll
good,
do
yeah.
that.
Actually, probably what I'll just do is do patio between the house and the pool, and not do patio on the post.
Yeah, that's what they had before.
All right, so.
We'll do that.
I'll
They
just
had
do
that
that,
before.
poking around. and
Okay.
it'll be done.
Sounds
Pool
good.
and then the patio. One patio with the pool in the house. That's great. It's reasonable.
We're all reasonable here tonight.
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak to this application? Therefore, we're going to adjourn this for all purposes.
So move.
Second. Second, yeah, I'm
All
sorry.
in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nick.
On the application of case number 2865, CV and V LLC, 63 Linden Lane.
I accidentally grabbed the short easel as I left the office. I don't know if this is...
The one in the back there?
Put it right up here? Good evening. It's been a while since I've seen you all. Rob Herman, Event Consultants, on behalf of the applicant. The application that is before you tonight is for a wetland permit that would allow the applicants to construct a fixed timber catwalk that's designed to provide the applicants with a dry, safe structural point of access from their waterfront property on Lake Agawam to the lake for purposes of boarding non-motorized watercraft such as canoes and kayaks. Your package should contain both schematic drawings done by my office and also a survey prepared by Squires, Holden, Weisenbacher, and Smith that shows the proposed dock and the same profile that's on my schematic. I delivered that a couple of days ago to the building department. Based on what I heard a couple cases ago, for some reason that has not made it to you. It does not show anything different than what you have on the schematic plans from N Consultants. The proposed catwalk
That
has
one
been...
dated the 24th of March. Is that the latest one?
That's it. Yep, so you have it. And it should show the structure right on there and the same profile that's on our schematic plans. As you'll see from the drawings, the proposed catwalk has been designed with a low profile, minimal scope. It is 4 feet wide by 28 feet long.
It shows the dock, it doesn't show the catwalk.
Well, there's only, up in the corner, there should be a profile on the survey. If you look on the survey in the upper left-hand corner.
Okay.
It's the same thing, they kind of mix the terminology. Our section says catwalk, the plan view says
The plan says dock.
Yeah, it's one and the same here. It's not, there's no ramp and float proposed. There's no floating dock component proposed with this.
Okay.
It's only the fixed portion. So the
Fixed dock, in other words.
It's a fixed dock, correct. So the 4-foot by 28-foot long catwalk you see is the fixed dock. That's the sum total of what's proposed. It's approximately 11 and a half feet of that length is located on the upland portion of the applicant's property, and 16 and a half feet of that length is seaward of the ordinary high water line of Lake Agawam. The catwalk would be constructed with 4-inch by 4-inch posts. The top of the decking would be located less than 30 inches above the water line of the lake. The decking would consist of 60% open grate fiberglass reinforced decking, which allows light to go through the top of the catwalk. There is no vegetation that would need to be cleared for the installation of the dock, which is by design. The shoreline is actually vegetated both naturally there with Phragmites, but also behind that with native vegetation that was installed a few years ago in connection with a wetlands permit and variance decision that was issued by this board at the time of the renovations for the dwelling that was issued in 2010. And you can see that is this section right here where it's under the canopy of this red maple tree, and there's a lot of roots here. So there's really no vegetation that's naturally coming up there. So we specifically chose that location for the dock. The dock starts at a little strip of landscape edging that's on the landward side of those installed plantings. So you literally just walk down the lawn and then right onto the catwalk through that stretch past that maple tree. The portion of the dock that is on the applicant's property is located about 30 feet from the side property line at that point. Generally, the type of small access dock is common on Lake Agawam. A review of a recent aerial photo shows at least 13 docks that are present on the lake as of last year. And it is similar in particular to the fixed dock that is present 2 properties to the south, which you can see in this lower photograph. This is standing on the applicant's property looking to the south, and you can also see the same dock here in the aerial. There's another platform that's a few properties to the north that is not in good repair, and then they get more common as you get closer also to the ocean. We have obtained permits for the proposed structure that's in front of you from all of the other involved regulatory agencies, which include the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, New York State Department of State Coastal Resources Division, and the Southampton trustees. The DEC is not involved here because we're on Lake Agawam, and the DEC does not regulate freshwater wetlands on Lake Agawam. Just as a point, and I don't know how relevant this is, and Rick or Chick can correct me if I'm wrong, but I just wanted to point out that the notice states that we are seeking a variance from Article 3A in order to permit the dock within the required 150-foot wetland setback. And I just wanted to point out there is a distinction in the code under 116.
The board is aware that it's a special permit.
Okay. I just wanted to make.
It's just the way they've always advertised it.
That's fine. That's why I just wanted to, so it saves me from talking any further. If the board has any comments or questions on the project, I'll take this down since it's not sitting right in front of you. I can try to answer them.
Rick?
No questions.
Chick?
Just, yeah, a couple of items. I guess I pulled the old file. As Rob said, there was a prior permit issued. There were some modifications to the upland. And this had pretty much lawn down to Phragmites along the lake. So I do have old wetland delineations that are a little different than the ones that you flagged in March of 2014. So I will go to the site and try and reconcile that, see if the wetlands have changed or if we want to transfer the original wetland delineation. But we can certainly work that out. The original planting plan looked like it was pretty aggressive. Do you have the Christopher LaGuardia plan that was approved as part of the original permit?
I have it in my briefcase, I don't have it in front of me.
So I did want to get an idea of the status. It looks like the edging was put in, and I will go to the property, I haven't had an opportunity yet. But it looks like the edging is in. Has the planting been completed?
Yeah, and again, I have not, let me just see if I can see.
That's the one that I showed in my file, and we can make sure
Yeah,
that's what's
basically, I
referenced.
mean, you can see, I mean, what shows here, Chick, is actually, the photo cuts off here, and you don't get a great view of it here, but basically, it's lawn right down to where this steel edging is, and then this is where all the planted vegetation is, which you can kind of see in profile here, and then it drops off into the area of the Phragmites, so.
It's been cut.
Right. So my current flagging was actually really just runs sort of in between the Phragmites and about where the ordinary high water line was and where the native plantings. It was, I didn't spend a lot of time frankly looking through this because really for the dock, we were just looking to avoid the air, avoid the vegetated area altogether. But it's possible, depending on what was planted, that you might see that the wetlands line has actually moved landward, but that would be neither here nor there with respect to this application.
Yeah, we'll
It may
get
just
an
be
accurate current
something that
line.
you have to,
Yep.
make a determination on.
So I guess, I mean, Mike, the thing leading to the comment is that the area where the proposed dock was proposed for some pretty aggressive revegetation.
Right, well, what
So
I
noticed you have open grade decking, but it's at grade, so it's really not gonna allow vegetation.
And again, that's to my prior comment, in that area, the root system from that red maple tree dominates that area. So I don't know what Chris had originally intended to go there or whether it may have even been planted, but it's just not a location that's really suitable to understory growth. You've got the canopy of the tree during the growing season above, and that whole area is really just basically root system, the typical superficial roots of a red maple cover that entire area. So that's why we kind of picked that spot, because you could go down and you could basically replant that, and it's not going to take. There's nothing that you're going to be able to establish right in that area unless you were to start cutting up the roots of the tree.
Yeah, he did have quite a few plantings in that area. So I think it may be necessary, I think it's important to have the landscape plan match the proposed conditions.
Yeah,
So if it's possible to work with LaGuardia again, he's got all the files, maybe we should tune up the revegetation in that area, recognizing
Right.
what you're saying, that the canopy is limiting what can occur, and show the dock, show the proposed
Yeah,
catwalk.
if there's something, if we need to kind of reconcile what was submitted under that prior case versus what's out there now, we can certainly deal with that pretty easily, I think.
Okay. I think that would be good. And then, I think this is a pretty minor structure, but maybe just a couple of bullets on construction methodology. We've been looking for that, I think the open grate decking is all pretty much prepackaged material. Said it's 4x4 piles, so it's really a pretty minor construction effort, but something that indicates how that will be done.
Hey, Chick, is this one of the projects in the past where they started using those for the shore? They had like those Euro logs?
Yes.
Did they? I was wondering, because that was a few years ago, I was wondering how those were holding up, or if this was in fact one of the sites that used those.
I was looking through my file, and I think that was part of the original application, and we had had some concerns about it at that time, because I noticed in the original file that there were some comments on that, and I'm not sure if they were incorporated into the final project.
Yeah, I'd like to know that.
But I'll check that for you, and maybe...
Are you talking about like the biologs along the shoreline for erosion control?
Yeah.
I didn't see anything like that.
I don't think
when
they
I
were
was out there.
installed. I think we actually, the applicant removed them based on comments at that time. But it may help for you to look at the original file, just because
Yeah.
it was one of my questions, and I had pulled it out, and can certainly go through it in more detail. But
Sure.
Check the building department, because I think that needs to be consistent at least.
Well, I think Roy Hagee had represented the applicants at that time, and I have those
You have them in the
materials, so I can get to them. They are literally in my briefcase.
Okay. All right, so just, those are my only comments. Oh, actually, I did have one quick question. The trustee's permit seems to talk about that the catwalk is gonna be slanted across the vegetation.
Yeah, this
It was one of the conditions.
This doesn't really apply to this project, and I know that sounds awfully convenient, but I have to tell you that we're having sort of an ongoing issue with almost all of these permits that are coming out of the trustee's office at this point have these stock conditions on them, and sometimes they match up with what's going on and others don't. To give you an idea of what they're talking about is when you typically have, say, on a tidal water body or under a DEC or a core permit, we have to have the 3.5 or 4 foot elevation.
Right.
And what the trustees were finding for a while is that contractors were establishing that 3.5 or 4 foot elevation and just maintaining that as a steady elevation so that it was way high by the time you got out over the surface waters. So they want you to slant the dock down in an area where you're, heading down a long slope over a tidal marsh or something, so that it's a limited height over the surface water. Here, there really isn't that issue with vegetation. We're not on a tidal water body, and so the whole thing is really designed to maintain that kind of elevation and a point out. So
It even refers to 26 inches over water at average high tide.
correct. So that's why I'm saying. So that's what you may even, if you look at special condition 3, it says the entire dock structure must not extend past 100 feet from mean high water.
Right.
This is 16 feet. So again, I think that the trustee's office is putting in these sort of catch-all stock conditions on pretty much every permit that goes out, whether they apply or not. But the
I found
plan
it
was-
confusing, but I don't think it concerns our review of this.
We actually, I had met with the trustees at the property at one point to discuss the location of the dock and the extent and all of that. So they're well aware of what, they approved.
So you don't expect any problems complying with the permit?
No.
That's all I have.
Is there anyone out in the audience who'd like to heard of this application? Don't need anything more, Chick? What more do we need?
No, there's a couple of items. I guess we leave it open and see what comes in before work session.
Okay.
It's certainly a minor project, but I think consistency is important.
We're gonna leave this one open for all purposes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
no more wetlands application.
Done.
You might learn something.
We gotta rearrange these things so the last one is yours.
No, actually, we have them rearranged it so that I can leave early. Have a great night.
Okay,
Night.
Chick, take care.
All right, where we at? Meeting house.
On the application of case number 2866, John Sidoris, 237 Meeting House Lane.
All right, what do you want?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, council. For the applicant, John Sidaris, I'm Lisa Combrink from the Toomey Latham Law Firm, 51 Hill Street, Southampton. The property is located at 237 Meeting House Lane, it's Suffolk County Tax Map Number 904-19-412. The property is zoned HA Hospital Accessory District. It's 17,343 square feet in size. You're probably familiar with the house if you've driven by the hospital at all during your time in the village. It was, up until recently, a green shingled house that was right across the street from the hospital. The house is undergoing renovations now. Mr. Sedaris purchased the property in November of last year, so he's refurbishing the house now and making some small additions to it. For our purposes tonight, we're here to request variance relief in order to construct a 392 square foot garage, which would be on the western side of the property. If you look at the survey that was submitted with the application, you can see that the property is irregularly shaped in the rear. It's a stepped arrangement, which is very unusual, and the property is bordered in the rear by the 12.5 residential zoning district. The existing garage would be converted to a pool house. The pool has already been installed. The septic system will be going into the rear area of the property behind the garage, and then a proposed dry well will be located across from the garage. So in order to put, the old garage. So in order to put a new garage, we're asking for relief from the rear yard setback and the side yard setback on the western side, western and northwestern side of the property. In the hospital accessory zone, the rear yard setback is 35 feet. We're asking for 10 foot. In the adjacent 12.5 residential zone, 10 feet is the rear yard setback for an accessory structure. Then on the side yard, on the westerly side, we're asking for 5 feet. The appropriate setback in the HA district for an accessory structure is 20 feet. In the 12.5 zoning district, the side yard setback for an accessory structure is 10 feet. We submit that we do meet the standards for the grant of variance relief under the circumstances presented here. First of all, the benefit to the applicant we submit outweighs any detriment to the neighborhood or the surrounding community. In fact, we don't believe that there's any detriment in this particular circumstance. There would not be any undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or in the community. The house is essentially being upgraded, the property is being upgraded, and as I'm sure you know, it's a very visible location. I think the property overall is being improved substantially. The applicant is unable to obtain the benefit that he seeks without a variance. Considering this shape of the property in the rear along the property line as I described, the only way to place a garage in this portion of the property would be to obtain variance relief from your board. We submit that the variances are not substantial under the circumstances presented here, particularly because the house, the property is located adjacent to the 12.5 residential zone. I think it's an unusual property because it is located across the street from the hospital, and I think that's why it's zoned HA, but this happens to be used as a private residence. It's not used for anything in connection with the hospital or any housing that the hospital has for its employees. There would be no adverse impact on the environment or on the physical conditions of the neighborhood. As I mentioned earlier, we're in fact upgrading the sanitary system and the property as a whole. We submit that it would not have any negative impact on the neighbors. The property adjacent to the west is owned by Southampton Hospital, and that's used for seasonal housing for the nurses, particularly during the summer season. The property on that side and also to the rear is screened. I've submitted some photographs that show first the area of the proposed garage,
and then 2 separate photographs that show the screening. It is winter right now, so the hedging is a little thin, of course, but I would submit that visually this will have little or no impact on any of the neighbors. The house that's closest to the rear, which is on Lewis Street, is fairly close to Lewis. There are no structures or any uses in the rear of the property. It's a grassy area that's actually kind of seems to be cut off with bushes from the rest of the property. So I don't believe that the garage, if it was constructed in this part of the property, would have any negative impact. And finally, the difficulty is not self-created. The property was created in its unusual configuration in the rear and is zoned unusual hospital accessory with these very significant side and rear yard setbacks. And I have Jim McChesney, who's the architect, if you had any questions on the plan, in particular for the garage or anything else with the property. He's prepared the plans that were submitted prior to your work session.
I see in the file that there were 2 FOIL requests, but I don't see any letters either in opposition or in favor of.
Now, when we checked the file, I think there was only 1 FOIL request. I did not receive any telephone calls from neighbors or anything.
There's no way you could move that garage so it would be a little bit further from the property line?
Well, we considered that, but if we move it up, then it's going to be very close, it'll be closer to the covered porch.
I was thinking of moving it to the east.
Yeah.
To the east.
Anyone want to speak to that?
We could, but it would make the parking coming in and out of the garage a little bit difficult because it would be then somewhat in front of the covered porch. So as you were backing out, it would be a little bit of a challenge.
The driveway is currently on the other side of the property, and it's going to be moved onto the west side.
I mean, even if you move it over just a bit,
5 feet.
you can see where the driveway widens as you get there. The driveway actually lines up with the proposed trellis. If you move the garage over that way, you'd still have a straight run in. I'm not saying move it 30 feet or anything like that, but,
Right.
you know,
You think if we,
get something.
if we moved it over 5 feet?
5
would-
feet
I
sounds
mean, we
good to
could-
me.
Anything would be a help, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, you could even move the curb and the driveway back a little bit if you were worried about backing out. You know,
Here?
Yeah, I mean, I think
And that
if
was
they were
the
worried about, you
trellis
know,
5 feet
backing out,
closer
I mean,
to the pool.
that would give them more back out room.
What's wrong with that?
Hmm?
It moves the trellis 5 foot closer to the pool, and I don't see what would be wrong with that.
No.
So, I mean, basically the garage would have like 10 and 10
Mhm.
for setback.
Why do you enter it through the parking lot? Why not?
Yeah, it has 10 from the north now. You could get, if you could get 10 to the,
Yeah.
10 on the side.
to the west.
Mhm.
And as we know, the hospital's moving any day now, so.
Well, as a member of the board of the hospital, I can confirm that's not true. Won't be any day, but I hope it will be in my lifetime, that's for sure.
Do we have anything else to ask? Rick, do you have any questions?
I was gonna make the same suggestion you guys did, that it be moved a little bit east.
Anybody out in the audience wish to be heard to this application? Yes.
I'm Louise Gould. I own the property to the north. Now, I was only granted 10 feet. Is there any possibility they could give me a little bit more? Because if anybody ever went to buy my property, I'm sure that's where they're going to put the pool, which would be in that corner.
Okay.
I mean, I don't expect a lot, but anything, if I'm entitled to 35 feet and I'm getting 10, we could go 17 maybe? Is there any possible way?
In other words, if they move the garage not only a little bit to the east, but a little bit to the south?
Yes. Anything?
Is that a possibility?
I think it makes it much more difficult to back out of the garage.
What's gonna be the back of the garage that'll be towards your
Yeah.
property, which,
And your
Alright.
pool
Nothing
will
much.
have to be 20 feet off, I
Yeah,
guess.
Yeah.
all right.
There's no windows on that side of the
No, I don't
garage.
worry about windows. No, I'm just worried about if the property has to be sold for me, if they're going to have a problem with the neighbors, but,
Well, if they put the pool back in that part of the property, be good for these neighbors because the garage will be there, dead in the sound.
and the pool house is going to be in the old garage, right? What, I didn't see, what kind of trees are they putting up? You said you had pictures of the trees?
What about the screening?
Screening?
Those are pictures of what's there today.
The
Oh,
hedges
just
are
what's there today, yeah,
and
'cause
they're
that's-
thin now.
It's tired.
we could go with an
It's been
evergreen
behind the
and
rock
screen it
gardens
year-round.
since 1946 that I know of, so the rock garden started to collapse and it was really damaged it a lot. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
For your time.
Anybody else?
Right, so in keeping with your suggestion, then, we will submit a revised survey before your next work session, hopefully showing the proposed garage moved over an additional 5 feet
feet
on the westerly side. Okay. Anything else? No? Okay.
Do we have anything else, Rick?
Thank you.
All right, 2867.
We'll adjourn it for all purposes. They're gonna have to do a new survey. It shows
Oh,
the
that's right.
the 5 feet. Can I have a motion to adjourn for all purposes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Wait a minute.
On the application of case number 2867, 117 Wickapog Road Associates, 117 Wickapog Road.
Yes.
Do we have the affidavits?
Just wanted to say good evening. My name is Monica Navia. I'm with Burke and Sullivan, 41 Meeting House Lane, for the applicant, 117 Wickapog Road Associates. I'd like to submit at this time the affidavit of mailing with the corresponding certified mail receipts, as well as the affidavit of posting.
Okay.
Just want to make sure that all the members of this board have the statement that we submitted along with the corresponding supporting exhibits. At this time, I also want to,
Is it this? No,
That.
that's the affidavit
Yes.
posted.
This.
Oh, that.
statement, yes, with the corresponding exhibits. And at this time, I also want to submit to the board members a revised site plan. There were some modifications based on my conversations with John Foster, and we have 8 original copies that I'd like to present.
All right, we have a new site.
What's enough to do with the old site? Oh.
File.
That's a site plan. There you go, pass those down, in good shape.
Could be 2 or 3 there.
think the skip us to.
It says it's the pool house is already in, and so is the pool.
Nothing has been built yet.
Proposed.
Yes.
This one says existing. Well, that's the house next door, sorry.
Last time I
That's been
checked,
built.
it's still vacant.
Okay. So, how is this not the same as the one we got before?
Based on a conversation I had with John Foster, he had recommended that we put in a buffer for the driveway.
Sorry.
Talking about down the property line to the east?
Yes.
What kind of a buffer?
I have the architect here also, Fred Ercolino, that can talk to that.
Talking about the 10-foot buffer?
Yes. And if I may,
In other words, you're putting the driveway 10 feet off the property line?
correct,
In one section, it's even more than that, right? Where it curves?
yes.
It seems to be where you have the septic system.
Yes. And if I may, gentlemen, at this time, I just want to also pass out what I always like to use and give out, because I obviously like giving out exhibits and paper. It's the balancing test for requesting a variance, and I'd like to go through each point. So I have copies for each one.
Okay, there's the standards, man.
I think you can assume that we are familiar with these.
I know, just for my own
Okay.
roadmap
All right.
and
You've
presenting.
been doing this a long time.
I know, I know. Very well aware of that.
Some cases, a very long time.
Yes. I'll try to keep it as short as I can. I know it's
Okay.
getting late. At this time, we respectfully request 117 Wickapog Road Associates that this board grant our request for variances with respect to the property at 117 Wickapog Road, Southampton, identified on the Suffolk County tax map as lot number 904-20-1-23. The subject premises is located within the boundaries of the village of Southampton and is subject to the restrictions of the R80 zoning district. The premises is 16,571 square feet in size, where 80,000 square feet are required. As you can see in what I submitted as Exhibit A is a copy of the survey done by Robert Smith. We are asking your permission to allow for the construction of a 3,783 square foot, two-story, single-family dwelling, 55 feet from the front property line, where 80 feet is required by this village's code, and a side yard variance 5 feet from the east side property line for a proposed garage, where 10 feet is required by the code. Now, as you have the balancing test, and you're obviously very well versed and familiar with it, I want to go through each point briefly. The first one is the neighborhood character. The proposed use on the character of the neighborhood requires an analysis of similar properties in the neighborhood, as we all know. Here, a grant of the relief requested will not impact the character of the neighborhood in any way whatsoever, as we are proposing to build a new two-story single-family residence centrally located on the property. The proposed residence conforms with the zoning in all aspects and respects except for the front yard setback and side yard setback. As I demonstrated with the multiple surveys I attached under Exhibit B, it is not uncommon for properties along Wickapog Road to have front yard setbacks much less than what is required under the building code. The property located, for example, at 239 Wickapog Road has a front yard setback of only 44.1 feet, which is 35.9 feet less than what is prescribed by the code.
I think I'm all right.
You're supposed to break the furnishing. Right? It's going to come out of your new raise.
Workers' comp kicks in here.
As I also demonstrated, I attached Exhibit C, which is a decision that this board made in the property adjacent to the subject premises. That's at 107 Wickapog Road, in the matter of the application of Leland Abrams and Jared Abrams, where requested front yard variance of 60 feet on that property was granted by this board based on several factors, including the front yard setbacks of other parcels in the neighborhood. I also, and this, gentlemen, I call to your attention, Exhibit D is the Suffolk County tax map showing the subject property. You can just turn your attention to Exhibit D. So under this tax map, I put an arrow under the subject property, which is at lot 23. The lot adjacent to it, to the west, is lot 22, the property of Mr. and Mrs. Abrams, who requested a front yard variance, which you granted. And the reason that I call attention to this tax map is because 22 and 23 are very similar parcels. They're not as deep as 24 and 25, which is again why we are requesting the front yard setback at 55 feet. B, or number 2, is there a feasible alternative that does not require variance? Here, the subject premises is burdened by being nonconforming as to lot size within the R80 zoning district. The applicants cannot achieve the desired result of constructing this proposed residence without applying for relief from this board, as, to my point earlier, the premises is not nearly as deep as some of the neighboring properties that have been able to conform to the 80 feet setback. And again, I point your attention to that tax map. Also, Exhibits E, F, and G are copies of the surveys for 61, 127, and 135 Wickapog Road. At this point, there's simply no other alternative that we can pursue other than the requested variance. Number 3, is the variance substantial? Although initially it may seem that the variance relief requested is substantial, it's a 32% reduction for the proposed dwelling. When considered in context of the neighborhood, and especially the adjacent property, it is very clear that the requested variances are not substantial at all. As we stated previously, the premises is non-conforming as to lot size in the R80 zoning district, and again, not nearly as deep as some of the neighboring properties. As a result of those two aforementioned factors, any proposal to construct a new residence on these premises would require relief from this board. Number 4, does the variance have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood? The applicants are proposing to build a new residence with a new septic system that will be in conformance with all of the requirements promulgated by the Suffolk County Department of Health. The proposed residence will not have any adverse effects or impacts on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood at all. No unique or unusual landforms, wetlands, or any threatened or endangered species have been identified on or in close proximity to the premises. And last but not least, is the hardship self-created? In this instant, the difficulty is not self-created, but is the code and its application to this pre-existing non-conforming lot, which requires us to seek relief from this board. Almost any construction along with standard accessory structures would require relief from this board. Regards to the variance requested for the side yard, we are requesting 5 feet from the east side property line for a proposed garage where 10 feet is required. If you look at the revised site plan that I just passed out, the reason that we're asking for 5 feet is for several factors. Number one, as we had, or this board had mentioned earlier, we were discussing a driveway and the feasibility and for cars to park and to do a straight run-in, and the way this site plan is, the cars go directly into the garage. If we were to do it 10 feet, they would have to go to the left. And it's a matter of safety, of visibility, maneuvering room for the cars. And again, it's a garage. There's not going to be that much activity.
How wide is the garage? And how am I to know how wide it is?
17 feet.
So it's two-car garage.
Correct.
Yeah, no,
Barely.
that's a 1.5.
1.5.
You're not gonna get 2 cars in there side by side, you won't be able to open the doors.
Not your 83 Plymouth, won't fit anymore.
Or a Mini Cooper, depending on what kind of car.
Get 2 of them in there.
Yeah, you can definitely fit 2 Mini Coopers in there.
And it's
So
how deep?
we are proposing, gentlemen, that the 5 feet variance we're requesting, the benefit is, to us, is greater than the detriment to the neighbor. And at this point, just wanted to point out to this board that the plans for this proposed construction were approved by the ARB. And we also got the approval of Mr. Giannis after looking upon the plans. So I have that as well, which I did submit into the file, but I have copies if you'd like.
Could we go over once more this 10-foot buffer? Where is this 10-foot buffer exactly? Just where the driveway curves?
Yes, the bump out.
Now, any reason why it's 10 foot there and not 10 foot all the way down the line?
This is actually Fred Ercolino, the architect on the project, who can answer your questions. Thank you.
Yeah, Fred Ercolino, architect from Yaphank, Post Office Box 321. That revision to the driveway was requested just several days ago by Mr. Foster, and his request was transmitted to us by a sketch, which showed that shape in a very similar fashion. So we certainly agreed with him and went ahead with it.
Why did he ask for it there? I don't quite understand.
Maybe some screening.
From this house?
Well, if you put it closer to the garage, then, I don't know, maybe it's
He,
not as good.
what I got word from the building department was that many of the residents seem to be annoyed with driveways right alongside the property lines, and they're trying to slowly change that.
But
Right now,
aside
the
from
zoning
the bump
allows-
out, the driveway is parallel to the property line. It runs right along the property line.
That's right, which is permitted in the zoning ordinance.
Yeah, I still don't understand why we have this bump out here.
Well, only because he asked for it.
Does it have to do with the septic system?
No, sir, no.
Does not have to do with the septic system.
And only one car's going through there, you say?
That's right, yeah. It's a one-car
There's no
garage.
variance or anything for that.
No, there's no variance for that. I'm
If they
just
wanna do it, they can do
wondering
that.
why it's only there and not all the way down the line. Why didn't John ask for it all the way down the line? So you feel you can't move that garage another 5 feet to the west? to meet the 10-foot
At this point, we could, but we believe the benefit to us would be greater than the detriment to the neighbor. And again, for the reasons of safety, of going straight in, visibility, maneuvering room.
A long way off the road.
If it were to be moved over another 5 feet, it would make parking and going in reverse very difficult.
What I've also done is, with regard to the garages, there are no windows on that side. It's not open. It's a blank side. That would be that side. The whole property's planted with hedgerow, and then at a certain point, there'll be additional landscaping. But for right now, we're proposing the hedgerow, which is similar to same property at 127 and 135, and felt it was an adequate buffer.
Well, on the property to the east, what's on that that's right alongside the garage, that's adjacent to the garage? It seems to be empty space there?
Yes.
127 has a hedgerow on his property, and we're proposing a hedgerow on our property, and there'd be 2 separate fences.
There seems to be stairs on the adjoining property?
Pardon me?
Seems to be stairs on the adjoining property.
Yes.
Where do those stairs go to?
These
Like a
go
basement?
to a finished basement.
Finished basement, huh?
Yes. So this structure at the west side of the 127 is below grade.
So it's not near a place where that family would have activity, right?
Correct.
No, this lot actually goes back another 90 feet. The swimming pool and the garage are
Back there.
back in that area.
And in answer to your question, correct.
Do they have a pool?
Yes, sir. And a 2-car garage, which is
Which isn't shown on here, that's all right.
And what is the required setback to the north for a pool house? Is that 10 feet?
yes,
And that,
sides and rear.
all right, now what is the nature of that? Is that a staircase?
Yes.
And what is the nature of that? Does that constitute some structure that maybe
The
is too close to the line itself? I mean, I don't know what the structure is.
this is a stair
Stairs.
down to a permitted access and equipment space.
Is it a basement underneath the pool house?
Pardon me?
It's a basement under the pool
Not a
house?
basement. Just for a small portion, which is 6'8", which doesn't qualify as a
The
basement.
cellar or whatever?
Yeah, for pool
For
furniture.
electrical.
Basements
No,
and
that's why I
accessory
was-
structures.
yeah, that's
The
why I was
remainder of the
asking.
pool house would be a 5-foot high crawl space to house pool equipment. So it doesn't really qualify under the state code as a basement.
Right, okay.
Basement is 7 foot or more.
But what does the structure of the staircase look like? I mean, there's a wall.
Oh, the
perhaps.
structure's concrete.
But is there a
It's
4-foot
at grade
wall
level,
going
right?
down? Or?
No, the foundation for the stairs at grade,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a rail around it. That's the extent.
Mm-hmm.
So that's only to get access.
Equipment, yeah.
So the pool
You're
equipment.
gonna have
is
the
there.
pool equipment down there.
Correct.
Yeah.
Is that the idea?
Add some
Yes.
electrical, right. And that setback is permitted for the stair, a 4-foot encroachment into the required yard.
Now, you understand if anything goes wrong with the pool equipment, the guy's gonna have to be a hunchback to get down there.
They're cheaper, aren't they? Then there's a doorway on that, so to mitigate sound for the pool equipment?
Yeah, that's why they're allowing that 6'8" at the electrical area, so you can install a 6'8" high door,
Okay.
and your equipment is there, and I think the idea is to try to get some of the equipment out of the yard and
Mm-hmm.
down in that crawl space to handle a noise situation that might arise with pumps, filters, and heaters.
Okay.
You make it hard for the pool guy.
Oh, stop it.
I have stopped it. I did it for a long time, and I know what it's like.
It's tight. I wish it was 6'8" all throughout, but at the moment, that's what the building department is talking about, 5 feet.
Has to be 5 feet.
One small area, 6 by 8 at 6'8" high for electrical.
Electrical panel?
Yeah. And then the floor
That's not
would
the
raise,
house
the
panel,
floor
that's just-
raise up
that's-
1'8" to a 5-foot crawl space area.
That's the panel only for the pool house and the pool.
Yeah.
Not the house panel.
No. That'd be pool equipment.
How do you feel about the garage?
I think it's all right. It's a long ways from the road.
What do you think about the garage?
I like it where it is.
Fine, okay.
As long as they back in all the time.
Just one question. In your submissions, you've identified a variance that we recently granted for the adjacent property to the west with a 60-foot front yard. Why can't you move your proposal 5 feet further from Wickapog Road to match that variance? I don't see that it would do anything to your plan other than give you a little less patio or planter space.
Excuse me, 1 moment.
In other words, take the house back 5 feet, Rick?
Yeah. It would match the one we just granted to the west last fall.
They have lots of room there to do it.
They got lots of room to do it.
And that's what we did to the adjoining lot, 22?
The lot to the west,
22.
yes.
Yeah, our 5 feet is actually the porch. The house next door does not have a porch. That's the 5 feet.
But you're still asking for a front yard variance to be 5 feet closer than the house to the west when you have seemingly ample room to move it back only 5 feet. And you're still asking for a sizable variance, but at least you're matching what we did next door.
Well, again, next door, they don't have a porch, and we're requesting the 5 feet for the porch. But I understand what you're saying, yes.
You have ample
Right.
room on your property to provide a 60-foot front yard. Ample. We could ask you to move it back more.
Right, I understand.
I would think you'd be willing to offer 60 feet.
I think that's reasonable.
Don't forget number 1 here, conforming to the
Yes,
neighborhood.
yes. Thank you for that. Totally understand, yes.
Okay? So we'll need a new survey. New
Yes.
Site plan, new survey. It shows that. And leave the garage where it is. Everything else stays the same.
Okay.
Is there anyone out in the audience who'd like to hear of this application?
Good evening, board members, Chairman, thank you for seeing us. Robert and Karen Schwartz literally just closed a few weeks ago on the adjoining property at 127 to the east.
The east.
Yeah, so we apologize for not being fully prepared. We've not had the opportunity to view these plans in depth. We did get a little bit of information, but we didn't receive notice because we are very, very new in that, and we have some great concerns that we'd like to address with this.
Well, this is not going to end tonight.
Okay.
It's going to be here again next month, too, because they have to make a change with the house.
But we have some greater concerns that we'd like to address with you if we may.
Okay, yeah, please.
Well, the first one is that when we purchased the property next to the lot, we knew at some point that they'd be building a home. And I understand that they want to pull it closer to the curb, and I understand that proximity. We have no objection whatsoever. The garage is a little close is concerning to us. It was presented that there is a stairwell that goes to our basement. It's a separate egress. But the garage will include not only our living room, but our dining room windows. We just left a home with a very similar structure 5 foot away on Lewis Street, and we saw exactly what that vision would be from the side of our home. We understand the setback is 10 foot. We accept that. We're just asking you to reconsider the 5-foot variance.
I mean, one of the things that was mentioned is that the benefit to their client would be better than, the deterrent to us. And it's my dining room, and it's 5 feet to see this huge structure. And although it's narrow, it's quite deep. So they're calling it a one-car garage, but it is quite deep in that. That
How far
blocks
is your dining room off your property line?
17, 18 feet, maybe more, maybe.
All right, so we're not talking about 5 feet, we're talking about whatever it's off plus 5 feet.
Correct.
And
But it's going
the
to block
planting
my
is not
light.
ample enough there for
Well,
that?
it's 2
or-
rooms, because it's a 28-foot garage. It's 17 feet, but the length is front to back. It's 28 feet. So as I say, it includes 2 rooms. It's the dining room and the living room.
And the hedgerow they speak of is only about this high, so there's no real block between there.
It's a 4-foot deer fence with a newly planted hedgerow. There's no mature landscaping. There's no really visual impediments. There's no trees.
I mean, we would now look out of our dining room, we have all this beautiful light and beautiful sun that's just going to be, ruined with darkness and shrubs, and for 5 feet, that seems quite close. And again, we did just experience this, and it was quite a mistake.
So anyway, we just...
Well, how
asked-
tall is the garage? I have no
Well, that's the
idea.
other thing, we don't know, again, I have not had the opportunity to review it, so I don't know the style of the house, the height of the house, how tall is it going to be?
How tall is the garage?
I don't have dimensions.
25 from the property line, 30 foot.
No, how tall, how tall?
Pardon me?
How tall up to the ridge line? How tall is the
Max
garage?
is 16 feet, so it's 15
16
and a half
feet.
feet high.
Okay.
And you said 17 feet wide?
Yeah, how long?
So if a normal
We'll have
car
to view that.
parking space is 12 feet,
Yes,
so you're gonna have 12 feet plus 5 feet of storage.
yes.
So if you shifted that garage to the west, you entered into that side of the garage, you still would have a straight run, because that was your main concern, that they would have a curve going into the garage, but they wouldn't. You could shift the building and just park it would be to the right side of the garage.
And have the storage on the left, on the west side of the house, or the garage.
In other words, if it went 5 feet to the west, you'd still have a straight run into the right side of the garage.
Right, you're not getting 2 cars in there.
Yeah,
Door off center?
Well, he has like a triple door anyway, so,
It's a 12-foot wide door and a 17-foot wide garage.
But it's steep.
It's 24 feet deep, 16 feet high. This is the side that would face.
Still
the
have a
property.
straight shot. With this, you're gonna have a straight shot with the bump out of the 10 feet.
The bit of the problem is
how wide is the garage door?
17.
No, the garage door.
Well,
Drawings of the fucking garage.
What is there? The
So it's an
elevation's there.
oversized garage door.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't, show them that
I
somewhere.
guess I just don't understand the need for the variance, other than to just make their space better, and really, it
Well,
hinders
I mean,
our
if we can
space.
satisfy a straight run for you to get into the garage and eliminate what is the side yard setback there?
10.
10.
Eliminate a variance requirement, that's what we're concerned about. I mean,
Right.
so I mean, if there's a way to put it on, you've got a blank piece of paper there, so if there's a way to put the garage on the property and not, I don't think that it inhibits.
You got a big space between the pool and the garage also. It doesn't look like it's gonna affect it at all. And with that 10-foot bump out,
No.
it looks like,
Also, that would allow the 10 feet, at 5 feet, it's pretty hard to put screening in there.
I was
If you
just
had
gonna-
10
that was my next
feet,
question.
you could put some additional screening between your garage and your neighbor's property.
Right.
At
That's
5
certainly
feet, it's
true.
hard to get the screening in there.
No, as a matter of fact, we didn't show any. We're thinking about a 6-foot-high fence along the side and back.
which are allowed.
The
But the
problem
garage
is,
is 16 feet, so there's still
10
You know,
feet of...
6-foot-high fence is the most you're gonna get.
So from my dining room, I'm now seeing a 6-foot-high fence and a garage?
He has the right to
Because
put a
there's-
fence
He has the right
No, I
to put,
understand
yeah.
that, but if by giving him the variance, there is no shrubs.
This is
that
what
can
we're
be planted.
talking about. We're trying to...
Talking about moving the garage
Right.
over 5 feet.
Can I also add something? The village allows us to have an 800 square foot garage. We're actually coming in at 476.
We understand that.
So we definitely,
Move it to a conforming location and make it any size you want.
I mean, our construction is modest.
But it's a setback that's the issue, not the size.
Right, right.
I don't understand how we got from being in agreement to this point just because the neighbors stood up. I'm not in favor of the neighbors designing somebody's property and architecture, and that's just insane.
No, neither am I. I just said, the
Well,
thing
this
is,
a
that
setback
with 5
issue.
feet, you
The
really
building
can't
would
plant a
remain
tree
the
in there.
same. The architecture is the same. It's just
Right.
a matter of a variance granting or if we can get a conforming
Are you
location.
guys talking about putting the garage door off-center?
No.
No.
Well, how you said there would be more storage on the left than there would be on the right. Somebody said that.
Yeah. You drive the car in straight. It's say,
Well, he's got
12-foot.
he's got a 12-foot
You've only
garage
got
door.
2.5
You really
feet
only
on
need
each
a good
side of the
9
door.
foot. So they could move it over and do
I
a
don't
9 foot.
understand why we're going there, but you guys do what you
The
want.
practical difficulty of why it's pushed over is because the pool has to be fenced.
Well, has to be.
So this fence runs right alongside the driveway,
Yeah.
and the gate must open out.
It's here, by the way.
A pool gate has to open out, not in. When it opens out, you cannot step down. This gate cannot step down onto the driveway.
Why does it have to step down?
Well, the driveway's lower than the grade at the top of the cobblestone where we have the yard. You open the gate, stand on some bluestone, and then step down.
Yeah,
So
do that all the time.
if I push the garage over, I've got a problem.
You're only talking about 5 feet.
But again, gentlemen, I do agree with Mr. Ferrara. Our variance request.
That was the reason
I mean,
for the request. So,
Yeah, you heard the board's comments. Think about whether you want to propose to revise it to 5 feet, to 10 feet and conform or not. If you don't, the board will have to make a decision. But there's no point in taking more time tonight to think about whether you want to revise it or not.
Thank you for hearing our concerns.
Think about it. Either, if you don't revise the garage, then we'll have to decide whether to grant it or deny it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
okay. Thank you.
I think it's easy enough to move that 5 feet.
Or a significant portion thereof.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anybody else who wants to be heard of this application? So what we're going to do is, take this for all purposes.
Yes.
Good night.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. The size of the lot. In other words, if you have a quarter of the lot into a zone, setback should be... No?
No, I just don't, I'm confused. I'll admit it. I don't know.
On the application of case number 2868, Anthony Albanese, 64 Almont Street. Before we begin, let it be noted that we have a letter in the file in opposition from the neighbors at 1 Henry Street concerning the garage.
Here we go.
They'd like the garage to face, doors, I believe, to face, not the street, but face to the side. Am I correct? I think they,
As I believe that's the sum and substance of
they
the-
spoke to you, I think, right? Or they-
We talked to them,
Yeah.
correct.
It's this.
Oh, no, it's a tone.
What have you given us here?
Garage, yeah, jeez.
We've given, I've given you a submission which has all the exhibits that I will refer to during my presentation. We also gave you an updated survey. Our previous survey had misstated the lot area on the survey itself, so we had that updated just to be removed. And the background of that is,
David Gilmartin Jr., Farrell Fritz, 50 Station Road, Watermill. Mr. Albanese is here today, so if you have any questions, and his architect is here also, so hopefully we can answer any of those questions. Mr. Albanese bought the property in January. At that time, it was 2 lots that he ended up purchasing. If you look at our submission, Exhibit A, this is the survey of the property with the house. And you see there's a lot here, which is depicted on the second survey in A, which shows the smaller lot. Mr. Albanese was able to buy both of those lots, and then he subsequently merged them. After getting the property, he wanted to improve it, and he was hit with 2 challenges. The first is that it's a long, narrow lot. It goes from 98 feet in width down to 64 feet in width, and it also has 2 front yards, Moses and Armand. So when we started talking about the development of it, we were challenged, and we needed a variance. The background of it and what Mr. Albanese decided was to try and pull the structures back as far as he could away from the immediate neighbors, so the neighbor to the south and then the neighbor to the east. So we were able to maintain the 15-foot setback on the south and east, which required us to get relief for the improvements on the front yard, for the pool house, and the garage. For the garage, we're going from the required 50 feet to 26.4. On the pool house, from 50 feet to 27.8. On the swimming pool, from 50 to 33.8. There's also an air conditioning unit that it's immediately south of the current house, and that is at 11 feet. And the requirement is 15, so we need a 4-foot variance there.
Is this the house that's there, or is this a new house you proposed?
This is the house that's there, which he is currently in the process or is about to renovate.
He's not going to tear it down?
Not going to tear it down.
You drive around my neighborhood, you see a lot of tear downs. I'm surprised.
He's not
I
tearing
went by
it
there
down.
today, and I saw this, I said, you mean he's not tearing the house down? He's out of step with everybody else.
He's a throwback. Unless you want us to tear it down, but I don't think he's interested in that,
Fine.
at least currently. The improvements will be screened with a hedge, which is shown on the survey, and then the garage will be screened with a gate. We haven't shown that yet because we haven't decided on a final design of that, but it will be screened from Armand Street. Here, the benefit to the applicant is significant. Without any variances, we wouldn't be able to provide the improvements. The width on the east end of that lot is 64 feet. If you have a 50-foot setback on the front yard, then 15 from the back, it creates a negative building envelope. The property gets a little wider as you head west, but still there's no building envelope. So anything that we would come and ask the board for, we'd be required to get a variance. I've provided at Exhibit B 2 aerial photographs. The first aerial photograph is a section of the neighborhood, a closer section. It's unfortunately the one that I could find as an aerial. It was, I think it was in the middle of June, and it's. Those are new surveys that took out the mistake on the lot area. So in this area, we're trying to depict the number of pools and the garage. This is on my submission.
There's a lot of pools in the neighborhood.
A lot of pools, and also a lot of garages. The second photograph, the second aerial is taken during March, so there isn't as much vegetation. It's from a higher end. It shows
Sorry, can I interrupt? Did you just hand this up?
Yes, he did, and it stalled right in front of me for a while.
That's the old survey that still has the error.
No, the old survey has the area, has the area here, which is incorrect.
Oh,
So
there
we
was
took-
the error.
Yeah, we took that out.
Oh, okay, so I marked the wrong error.
This.
Well, wait a second. What is the area of this lot?
The area is the 26,000.
Okay. So
So it's on the
your
bottom.
Exhibit A is an error. Exhibit A to your submission is an error.
No, that's the old lot, Rick, prior to our merging in the two lots. So an Exhibit A shows the lots prior to our purchase. We're able to purchase the first
Oh,
one.
I thought you said Exhibit A was your corrected survey.
That was a separate submission that we just picked
Okay,
up.
now I got it.
Where's that picture?
This
It's the second
board,
one. There was
if
two,
you
one
look at
behind the
Exhibit C,
There you go.
has given two variances on the street. One was 2 lots to our east, and the name of that application was Finno-Borgo. And that provided a 33-foot setback, allowed an improvement to an existing structure at 33 feet. The second variance that we found on the block was for the Crocker parcel. They're the people that submitted the opposition letter, and they were granted a front yard variance for a deck to 12.5 feet. It's, I think, important to note, and I highlighted in that decision, the fact that the board noted the shape, the narrowness of the lot, and the fact that it was a corner lot, the same factors that affect the lot that we are here before you tonight on. Exhibit D, I've provided pictures in the neighborhood. The first picture was taken from Google Earth and depicts the Crocker garage set here. I've chosen that picture because you see there's a bump out on the garage. I couldn't tell from the street what it was, but it seems it's more than a garage, that structure. The second picture depicts the Crocker garage. This is the individual who's opposing our request for a variance, and that's their property. That's the garage on their property.
Directly across the street.
Directly across the street from us, and they're criticizing our request for a variance while doing the same thing that we're doing.
Well, that was there when they bought the house. I mean, that house has been there a long time.
But
I know.
I've also submitted some other pictures of garages that are close to the street and also show the front of the garage facing the street. So that's 57 Moses. I've got one for 111 Henry Street, same street as the person who did the opposition letter, 89 Henry Street, and then 85 Moses Lane. You can see the garage is open with the car in it. And all these pictures are submitted. The final picture I have is for 112 Moses Lane, which is the property directly to our south. And I believe that's the pool house for the house that is directly to our east. It's an unusual lot that steps back and then to the west. So that's a pool house, which seems awfully close to our lot line, but indicative of the fact that this is an area.
How would that line up with these structures on your property, or these proposed structures? It would be behind your proposed garage?
It would be behind the proposed garage, correct.
Now, the house currently has a one-car garage. I assume that's going to be something else?
That is not a one-car garage. It has been converted to be part of the house.
It just looks like a garage.
Many years ago, it looks like a garage, but it isn't. Based on the narrowness of the lot and the fact that we have 2 front yards, we can't achieve any relief without coming to you. That 50-foot setback, again, with the narrowness of the lot, creates a negative building envelope, certainly at the east. With respect to substantiality, you're required to consider the totality of the circumstances, and I think the plan that we have put forward protects our immediate neighbors by maintaining the setbacks from those properties. So the south to the east, we're able to maintain the 15 feet, so that we need the variance from the front, and everybody is buffered certainly by the street, and then our intent to screen it with hedges. There are no environmental impacts type 2, it's a type 2 action under SECRA as a setback variance. So SECRA has categorically stated that there will be no adverse environmental impact. And again, with respect to the hardship, whether it was self-created, it's the narrowness of the lot, and then also the fact that we have 2 streets. I'd also note that the structures are under the maximum size that's permitted by the code, and our lot coverage is 73% of the max, so we're well under the lot coverage restriction. So I think the structures are appropriate for the lot size-wise. Again, Mr. Albanese is here and our architect is here. We can answer any
The
questions.
first thing that catches my eye is you've moved everything as far to the east and as far away from your house as possible, and as close to the neighbor to the east as possible.
Right.
You have a lot of room to move these structures west. A lot of room.
Our issue is
And
from our mind.
as you move it further west, you decrease the need for variances because it gets wider.
We do maintain the setback
I know that.
on the south and on the
I
east.
realize that. But you still need some, I think if you moved something to the west, all of it to the west, you wouldn't need quite as much relief from the street.
We do get wider,
Yes, you do get wider.
but again, I don't know if there's going to be a significant benefit to anybody who's driving by if we move it west.
You would also erase the objection of the people at 1 Henry Street because they wouldn't be facing that garage anymore.
Well, I mean, it depends on how far.
See, I mean,
Moving it.
I know their garage faces the street too, but their house faces the garage. Your house does not face their garage.
Well, it is not far set off, so if we're back on our patio or in the kitchen of the house, we're certainly facing the
Talking
garage.
about over 200 feet.
200, give me 1 second.
Did you see?
I do.
You bring everything over a little bit.
The disadvantage to the owner is the area behind the garage here sort of becomes useless area, you know?
Right, right.
You know, so.
You don't have a yard.
They give up yard.
They give up
you know?
yard, yeah.
You know, and that other one with the garage is.
Right, that's true. That's a point.
And he would really like to keep the structures where we propose them, and I don't think
Yeah, well-
there's any benefit to
I
anyone.
think we understand that the area to the east of the garage is dead space. And if you move everything to the west, you're going to lose some yard space alongside the house, right?
Right, sir. Right, it would just basically be ending my property much further west, and like you said, it would all be dead space to the,
Everything on the other side of the garage is dead space.
Right, that's why we tried to do it this way.
Mhm.
And we, you know, as David said, we were very mindful of, we didn't want to seek any variances on the neighbor's side, so nobody would be, you know, disrupted. And I do intend to have a hedge all along Armand with a nice gate, so he won't be, I mean, you've driven by, the property was awful before I purchased it, it was just completely overgrown, it was a
The
mess.
house is just around the corner.
What'd you say?
My house is
Oh,
just
good, so
around
you
the
know it
corner.
well, so I assured the neighbors that this will be a much cleaner, nicer property when I'm done with it.
Doesn't want to move now, but.
No, but even if you move 10 feet, what about coming into the garage from the east? Shifting it a little bit and then coming in, so they're looking at the side of the house instead of a garage door.
And you have to move the garage to do that.
Yeah, a little bit, but you don't have to move it that much.
The architect said you'd have to have 30 feet if you wanted to enter from the east, so you'd
Yeah, you
really be
would.
shifting it.
So you thought of this.
Well, when we got the opposition, we talked about it, just to you know, inquire, and my architect, Jim McChesney, who's here, said in order to turn in properly, you'd need 30 feet, so you'd have all that dead space then.
There's garages all over that neighborhood that face the street.
Yeah.
All of them do.
Just, yeah, I think all of them do. Yeah. I can think of offhand.
Right. And I tried to give you some pictures of ones that are very close to the street. I mean, I think that's the character of this area of Southampton Village. And in our lots in an R20 zoning district, it's a 7.5 across the street. And I think the lot, the Crocker lot, I think is about 4,000 square feet. So he's got a tiny lot.
A small lot. I think the Troches lived there at one time. Long time ago. Anybody else? Anything?
No questions?
Rick?
No questions?
Anybody out in the audience wish to hear this application?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My name is Joseph Sanchez. I'm the owner of the property. My wife and I directly to the south, 112 Moses Lane, that's referred to. I know it's late, so I'll be brief. Just for the record, we want to say we have no opposition at all to the variance that they're requesting. I spoke with Mr. Albanese and Mr. Farrell before. Just touch on your point about moving it further west would impact my property more. Right now, the 32 Armand that was Mrs. Lasky's property, that's the Johnson property right now. They have the pool house. It's very close to my property line. I agree with Mr. Albanese. It should be put as far to the east as possible. The only thing that I can talk to him about is some kind of shielding or fencing, screening rather, between that line, which will benefit both of us. But in reference to moving it further, and you're absolutely right, as Mr. Bennett referred to, 57 Moses, 87 Moses, we can go on and on about garages that face out to the street. So again, we have no objection whatsoever. Even, like I said, the air conditioning unit being a little bit closer to the property. I mean, I have an air conditioning unit, you're going to hear it. I have no objection to any of the variances that they want.
Thank you.
Just the first aerial that I submitted as B, this is the Sanchez lot. Our improvements will go somewhere in this area, so moving it forward would affect this house, which is located there.
What's your pleasure, Rick?
You can close it for decision if you want.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry about that. This meeting of the Southend Village Zoning Board of Appeals is adjourned.
Is adjourned.